we're going to go first to Steve Goff, who we will see for our send-off game before the Olympics. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry, Steve, go ahead now.
Oh, thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Emma. Emma, we just wonder if you could elaborate on the decision not to select Alex Morgan, some of your conversations, and just the details about that big decision. Thanks.
I mean, first off, I want to, talk about what an amazing player and human that Alex Morgan has been. I've only had one opportunity to work with her in the last camp, and I saw firsthand not just her qualities but her professionalism, and her record speaks for itself. Second of all, it's not easy making a decision that there's only 16 outfield players and 2 goalkeepers on a roster of 18. So it was a tough decision, of course, especially considering Alex's history and record with this team. But I felt that, I wanted to go in another direction and selected other players.
Thanks, Em.
Thanks, Steve. Let's go to Jeff Kassouf. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thanks for taking the time, Emma. If I could follow up maybe just on you've talked a lot about versatility, and was that maybe ultimately a factor in that decision that you were just discussing with Alex, in terms of making sure that every player had the versatility, and just kind of what was, when you said the other direction, a different direction, what was kind of, what was that direction, I guess, that you were looking at in terms of the whole of the 18?
Yeah, I mean, that's just one of them. I think the biggest factor is there's 16 outfield players to play a lot of games, arguably, I hope, over a 17-day period. So having a roster that, could adapt is essential. You have a tight turnaround between games. So, of course, having players on the roster that, could play more than one position mattered with squad depth. But I also think, there are players on the roster in the forward areas that are performing well, and, the decision to take those players, was one that we certainly deliberated over. But I think it's a balanced roster. I think there are, I've considered all the factors that we're going to need throughout the Olympics, and one that I'm really happy with.
Thanks, Jeff. Let's go to Meg Linehan.
Thanks, Aaron. Hi, Emma. Meg Linehan, The Athletic. Just in terms of Corbin Albert being selected to this team, obviously there's been a lot of discussion off the field. Just in terms of you coming into a situation that was already ongoing, how have you, I know that you talked a bit about it during the last camp, but how has that been handled, and was that a factor for her making this team?
I mean, first of all, we know Corbin making the team is on merit in terms of what she offers for us in the midfield positions. I think she's demonstrated, in Gold Cup, that she can play, a lot of games in quick succession. And there is, I think she's got the ability to play all 3 midfield positions, though probably an 8 is her best position. I think when it comes to a situation that, I came into, there's no denying there's been a lot of work that's been going on in the background to work with Corbin. And as I've expressed, on a couple of occasions, I think it's really important that everybody in this team understands the importance of, not just being tolerant and respectful, and understanding, the things that are going to matter to us all, that, Corbin has had to learn, and as my experiences with her has been someone who's, she's a young person who's understood fully, the implications of, her social media activity. And, I'm not going to go into that in great detail because that's between Corbin and I, but the conversations we have had has been to, talk about the importance of, what we have to be mindful of and how, we're all part of an environment that's, one that appreciates and understands the damage that can do. And she's been a delight to coach. I think she's had a really, really tough time. She's really struggled, and I think some of that has shown in her performances. I think she's a person that, understandably, she's a young person, and you're having to deal with a lot of criticism, rightfully so, and a lot of, how do I put it, she can hear the noise in the stadium. That's affected her, but I can say firsthand that having spent limited time with Corbin, that she really is a lovely person and someone who really values the most important things, and that she's spending time working on herself, as we all do. And I look forward to, building on that with her. And I want everybody to know that, my job is to make sure I keep doing that. And I want the fans to really embrace Corbin, because I think she's a tremendous human being.
Thanks, Emma. Let's go to Nancy Armour.
Hey, Emma, Nancy Armour, USA Today Sports. Apologies for the background noise. I'm at gymnastics meet. You have coached Kat, and I'm just wondering what you see her contributions to this team, and what was it like to call and tell her that she'd made this team?
Yes, I have had the luxury of coaching Kat previously, so I know the US fans haven't seen maybe as much as I have in recent months, but I've seen a player that she's got unbelievable game intelligence, and I'd say her best position is a 10, but she can play as a 9, and that's another, factors I had to consider in terms of, what she can bring the team. She's cheeky. She always tries to get away with a fair few things with me, so I think she's someone who people don't realise how hard she's had to work in the background at getting herself ready at this level. She's put, some real hard yards into to getting back to the levels that I think everybody knows she's capable of. She actually didn't pick up my first 2 calls, so it took me a little bit longer to get hold of her. But, she was, as everybody was, really honoured and privileged to get the call, and representing, their country is, for them, the biggest privilege. So, yeah, she was delighted. I just told her to try and pick up a little bit sooner, but she said she was at the gym, so that's fair enough.
Let's go to Donald Wine. Go ahead, Donald.
Thank you, and Emma, thanks for your time. Apologies for the background noise. I wanted to ask about Lily Yohannes and her status on the team. The fact that she's not on this roster, is it because she has not made a decision yet about her future between the U.S. and the Netherlands, or is it other people making it ahead of her? Thank you.
I mean, first of all, Lily was a consideration for this roster, but yes, at this moment, Lily hasn't made a decision about her future, and I support that. I'm sure everybody can appreciate she's a young player that, really, really enjoyed her time with us at the last camp. But it's an important decision, and one that I support. That one thing I want is that, for every player that's part of this roster, that, they're conscious of all the commitments and opportunities that come with that. But that moment isn't now with Lily. But of course she was a consideration. But I will continue to work with Lily beyond the Olympics, and she will be, I really do hope that she will be part of our future. But at this moment, she wasn't ready to make that decision, and I fully support it.
Mike DeCourcy, go ahead.
Yes, Emma. I wanted to ask about the lack of goal production that the U.S. had at the most recent World Cup, and what you think this forward group, the changes you've made, and including Crystal Dunn as a forward, what you think that can do for the attack?
Well, I think, we have to, for me, it's about winning games first and foremost, and to win games of football, you've got to have the right balance in your squad. And I look at this roster where there are opportunities to score goals, not just from open play, but from set pieces. So I think there are goals in this team, but, I have to coach them to put them in the best positions to be able to execute that. But what I've seen so far from the players that I've selected is that, I'm encouraged by the things I've seen. And yes, of course, we need more time together to be able to bring the best out in them. But, I'm very excited, as are they.
Let's go to Ann Killian. Go ahead, Ann.
Thanks, Aaron. Hi, Emma. Without Alex on the roster, unless I'm reading it wrong, I don't think there's anyone on the team that has had great success in terms of a gold medal at the Olympics. And I'm just wondering what you feel the culture of the team around the Olympics is right now, and the mindset of the importance of this tournament that used to be kind of almost a birthright for the U.S. women's team.
Well, I think first of all, there's no rite of passage for any team in the world to just win an Olympic gold medal. And there's no denying the history of this program has been hugely successful. But the realities are it's going to take a lot of work for us to, get to that top level again. I think looking through the sort of cap accumulation of the team, there's been, a lack of development of putting players, some of the less experienced players, in positions where they can develop that experience. And I think it's important that we have to do that to take the next step. So I'm not looking backwards. I think we have to look forward with a group of players that have, put that World Cup behind them. And we're very much looking forward to sort of building on the work, post the World Cup. And, for us, this is an opportunity for us to show that those learnings, will take us, much further than it did last time. But there is no guarantee in anything in life.
Let's go to Andre Carlisle. Go ahead, Andre.
Hello, Emma. Thanks for the time. I wanted to ask about Coy Bethune. We've seen, obviously, in the NWSL, she's had a massive start to her career, and just wanted to know how close she got to actually making the 18.
Yeah, I mean, Coy's had a tremendous season so far. There's no question. But, as I've said a couple of times already, there are 16 outfield players. And there are players within that 16 that have developed some experiences over the last year at international level that Croy hasn't just yet. And while I value, what everybody's doing at their club level, there are players that I just decided to go with, at least within the 18. But, she's an alternate and she can be called upon to be put in that position is because I value and trust what she will bring. I'm very excited for Croy's future with this team, with this program. But, an 18-player roster is extremely difficult to get everybody within that. And though, Croy was very much a serious consideration for us.
Let's go to Leslie Ryder. Go ahead, Leslie.
Thank you, Aaron. Hi, I'm Leslie Ryder, Gallup Health Sports. I just wanted to talk a moment about Mallory Swanson coming back from a serious injury and returning to form so quickly. What will she bring to this roster?
Yeah, Mallory is a world-class player. That was evident for me coming into camp. She's maturing into an experienced, well-rounded international player. I think her best is yet to come, and I'm excited for her with regards to that. She's someone that she's really clever with her movement, but she's also very intelligent when she picks balls up in the pocket. I think she plays. There's quite a natural telepathy when she plays with Sophia Smith, in the way that they fill spaces around each other. She's a goal threat. I think she can play as a 9 too. I think she's clinical. I think she's got the ability to score goals for the team, but also, I know my assistant will appreciate this. Defensively from the front, she's really tactically astute. She's positionally very good, and someone who I think, when I think of her age, we've got a lot of years of someone who this team has missed in previous tournaments. So very, very excited to have her with us.
Let's go to Sylvia Bullock. Go ahead, Sylvia.
Good morning, and thanks, Emma. Can you just speak a bit about this being Jaden Shaw's first international tournament and maybe what you're hoping to see from her or get from her through this Olympic tournament? Thank you.
Looking in maybe the last 10, 11 months, you look at Jaden's goal contributions, her goal involvements for the national team, and it's been significant. She's a player, again, that can play across the front line, extremely creative. Hold-up play is exceptional, no matter, who she goes against. She's so strong to keep players off of her, and ability to make a final pass or be deadly in the final third is something that's really impressed me. So young. Again, we have to start developing these players at international tournament level. And yes, it's her first, as it is many others, but it's critical we support her in gaining the necessary experience that I hope will be valuable for us, not just through the Olympics, but for many more years.
Let's go to Bernie Beal. Go ahead, Bernie.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for taking the time. Could you explain what were some of your key attributes and qualities when putting the team together?
Yeah, the evaluation process has probably been going on ever since the World Cup. One of the biggest things for me ever since, I got the job was I want to provide opportunities for less experienced players. That there was such a big gap between the top experienced, and the rest. And that we really have to bring that up. The volume of players that haven't played more than 30 caps was really, really noticeable for me. So the last 8 months has been about giving experiences to bridge that gap, because there is a correlation between, caps played and success at international tournaments. But for me, that's one factor. 2 was just making sure we got enough diversity in terms of adaptability, and variety within the squad, knowing that, we play games with, in back-to-back succession, so players have to be able to do that. But also, you can't just think about a starting 11, you have to think about players that can come from a bench and make an impact. And then you have to think about, well, if we have to change something within the game, do we have the variety to do that? So if tactically I make adjustments, do we have that covered off? So I think it's a number of factors. And then, of course, how the group fits together itself. We're going to be together for near enough a month by the time we come together, just over that. So, factoring all of those things together were important considerations. And also, importantly, make sure the alternates, worked within that too, because at any moment, an alternate can come into the team with about 8 hours' notice if there were to be a tournament-ending injury for a player. So selecting 22 that can do all of those things was my process.
Last few for Emma. Yeah, thank you. Last few for Emma. We'll go to Peyton Zakaki. Go ahead, Peyton.
Hi, I was wondering, the Olympic team medaled last Olympics. Do you have the same hopes for this team with the changes in the roster?
I think for me, I've been clear that everything we're doing is a step-by-step approach to get us, as close as we possibly can to our best level, to our best version of ourselves. And as I've explained so far, this is a team that's making really good progress in doing that. And my interest and investment is getting our performances right, day by day as we come together and game by game, so that we can get, as close as we possibly can to, our ideal world scenario. So my focus is on those things.
Let's go to Lindsay Giordano. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Hi, Emma. I'm Lindsay from the Girls and Company. In light of the strong competition at the Olympics, what specific strategies or tactics have you been working on with the team to maximize their chance of success, and how do you plan on integrating the younger players into the new team?
Well, I think when it comes to sort of the preparations in terms of working on our playing style, that's something we have done, over the last camp, and we'll build on going into send-off series against Mexico and Costa Rica. Those things are, for me, take far too long to explain what our playing style is and what our tactical emphasis is. But what I will say is that our time together is spent on making sure we are as aligned as possibly can be around the things that matter the most, and that every player is positioned to perform when called upon. And I really trust in the group we've put together, and I'm excited to see how we develop our next steps together. And I'm sure our tactical development will evolve with more and more time that we have together. And I know the players are really excited, and so am I.
Last one goes to Rick Darney, I believe, out of Atlanta. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, Coach, I just wanted to ask you about Emily Sonnet. We're following here, obviously, in Georgia for a long time. She's obviously one of those players who has more than 30 caps with the U.S. team. And so just curious about her selection, why you like her, what you think she brings to the team as one of those veterans.
Well, I think, first of all, if you look at the cap accumulation I've mentioned and the experience, we do have a lot of that through the spine of the team. And whether that's in goal from Alyssa Nair to Emily Sonnet, who we know can play centre-back, full-back, defensive midfield. She's a player that, having had the pleasure of coaching her, I totally understand why so many coaches really appreciate her, because she'll do anything for the team, absolutely anything. And she takes information on really, really quickly, and I think she can perform under pressure, which I think is absolutely essential. She's someone who's been in the arena before. She understands it. I think she's passing on knowledge and experiences to less experienced players, and someone who is really valued within the group. So her and Rose are the jokers of the team. I've noticed that. So I'm going to make sure I'm not on the receiving end of them too often. But, she's someone who I think is going to be an essential member of this team because of all of the things I've mentioned.